What if I told you that one of America's most overlooked states harbors secrets that could rewrite history books, challenge everything you know about the Civil War, and reveal underground cities that most Americans don't even know exist? Georgia isn't just peaches and sweet tea. Beneath its surface lies a complex web of untold stories, from the world's largest exposed granite dome to nuclear secrets hidden in plain sight. This is an investigative look into the most insane facts about Georgia that the history books conveniently left out. Georgia holds a dark distinction that most Americans never learn in school. It was founded in 1733 as America's only debtor colony. James Oglethorpe established Georgia specifically as a place to send England's poor and imprisoned debtors, creating what was essentially a penal colony disguised as a humanitarian effort. This wasn't charity, it was strategic. England needed a buffer zone between the profitable Carolinas and Spanish Florida, and what better way to populate it than with people who had nowhere else to go? The colony's original charter actually prohibited slavery, alcohol, and lawyers, three restrictions that would be systematically dismantled as economic pressures mounted. What makes this particularly insane is that Georgia's founding principles were completely abandoned within 2 decades. By 1750, the ban on slavery was lifted, transforming Georgia from an anti-slavery experiment into one of the most brutal slave-dependent economies in the South. This complete reversal of founding principles set the stage for Georgia's complex relationship with freedom and oppression that would define its role in American history. Before European colonization, Georgia was home to one of the most sophisticated Native American civilizations in North America. The Cherokee Nation had developed their own written constitution, established a bicameral legislature, created a Supreme Court, and even published their own newspaper, the Cherokee Phoenix, in both Cherokee and English. Sequoyah's invention of the Cherokee syllabary in 1821 created the first indigenous writing system in North America, leading to widespread literacy among the Cherokee people. By the 1822s, the Cherokee Nation had a higher literacy rate than the surrounding white populations in Georgia. They operated schools, mills, and plantations, and many Cherokee families lived in European-style homes. This advanced civilization was systematically destroyed through legal manipulation and military force. The 1832 Supreme Court case Worcester versus Georgia ruled that Georgia had no authority over Cherokee lands, but President Andrew Jackson reportedly said, "John Marshall has made his decision, now let him enforce it." The subsequent Trail of Tears wasn't just a forced relocation, it was the deliberate destruction of a functioning democratic society that threatened white supremacist narratives about Native, American capabilities. Fact 1. Stone Mountain's ongoing Confederate monument crisis. Stone Mountain, located just outside Atlanta, represents one of the most complex and controversial monuments in America today. The carving depicts Confederate leaders Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, and Stonewall Jackson on what is literally the world's largest exposed granite dome, a geological formation that took 300 million years to create. What most visitors don't realize is that this monument wasn't carved during the Civil War or even during Reconstruction. The project began in 1923, was abandoned during the Great Depression, and wasn't completed until 1972, during the height of the Civil Rights Movement. The timing wasn't coincidental. The monument was explicitly designed as a response to the growing Civil Rights Movement, serving as a massive symbol of white resistance to racial equality. Today, Stone Mountain State Park attracts over 4 million visitors annually, generating approximately $30 million in revenue for Georgia. This creates an impossible situation. The state profits from a monument that many consider a symbol of hate, while any attempt to remove or modify the carving would require changing Georgia's state constitution, a process that would need approval from 2/3 of both legislative chambers and a majority of voters. Fact 2. Georgia's hidden nuclear infrastructure. Georgia operates more nuclear reactors than any other state except Illinois, with 4 operational reactors at Plant Vogtle and 2 at Plant Hatch. But what's truly insane is what's currently under construction. Plant Vogtle Units 3 and 4 represent the only new nuclear reactors being built in the United States at a cost that has ballooned from $14 billion to over $30 billion. This project has become a case study in nuclear industry dysfunction. Originally scheduled for completion in 2016 and 2017, the reactors are now projected to come online in 2023 and 2024, if they're completed at all. The delays have been caused by everything from faulty concrete pours to regulatory changes, and the cost overruns have been absorbed by Georgia ratepayers through pre-approved rate increases, statistics, and data. The numbers surrounding Georgia's nuclear gamble are staggering. Georgia Power customers have already paid over $3 billion in advance for reactors that don't yet produce electricity. The project has consumed 25% of all new nuclear construction investment in the United States since 2010. If completed, these reactors will provide enough electricity to power 1.6 million homes. The project has created over 9,000 construction jobs, but has also resulted in the bankruptcy of Westinghouse, the primary contractor. Dr. Krista Thompson, professor of Southern History at Emory University, provides crucial context. Georgia represents the ultimate contradiction in American history. It's a state that was founded on progressive principles: no slavery, no alcohol, rehabilitation over punishment, but became one of the most regressive societies in the antebellum South. Today, we see the same pattern. Georgia markets itself as the New South, while simultaneously maintaining monuments to the Confederacy and implementing some of the most restrictive voting laws in the nation. Thompson's research reveals that Georgia's pattern of progressive rhetoric, followed by regressive action, isn't accidental, it's structural. Georgia has always been caught between its economic interests and its stated values. In the 1,730 seconds, economic pressure forced the abandonment of anti-slavery principles. In the 1,960 seconds, economic pressure forced the acceptance of civil rights. Today, economic pressure is forcing a reckoning with Confederate symbolism, but the resistance remains fierce. However, Dr. Michael Morrison, director of the Georgia Historical Society, offers a different perspective. The narrative that Georgia consistently abandons its principles oversimplifies a complex history. Georgia was the first state to lower the voting age to 18, the first to allow women to serve on juries, and has consistently been more progressive on economic issues than its neighbors. The focus on Confederate monuments ignores the fact that Georgia has also preserved more civil rights landmarks than any other southern state. Morrison argues that Georgia's contradictions reflect broader American contradictions. Every state has monuments and policies that contradict its stated values. Georgia's difference is that its contradictions are more visible and more dramatic. Stone Mountain exists alongside the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historical Park. Both are part of Georgia's story, and both attract millions of visitors who leave with a more complex understanding of American history. Georgia's demographic transformation is accelerating at an unprecedented rate. The state's population has grown by 1.3 million people since 2010, with 95% of that growth coming from non-white residents. Metro Atlanta now has the second largest black middle class in America, and the state's Latino population has increased by 127% since 2000. This demographic shift is creating political realignments that seemed impossible just a decade ago. Georgia's electoral votes went to a Democratic presidential candidate for the first time since 1992, and the state elected 2 Democratic senators in 2021. However, the response has been swift and severe. Georgia passed some of the most restrictive voting laws in the nation, specifically targeting the voting methods that enabled Democratic victories. The collision between Georgia's changing demographics and its historical resistance to change is creating 3 possible futures. Scenario 1. The New South acceleration. Continued demographic change overwhelms historical resistance, leading to the removal of Confederate monuments, expansion of voting rights, and Georgia's emergence as a truly progressive southern state. This outcome would require sustained political engagement from new residents and successful coalition building across racial and economic lines. Scenario 2. The backlash entrenchment. Historical resistance adapts to demographic change through gerrymandering, voter suppression, and constitutional amendments that make progressive change nearly impossible. This scenario would maintain Georgia's contradictions while making them more legally entrenched. Scenario 3. The managed transition. Economic pressure forces gradual change while preserving face-saving measures for traditional constituencies. Confederate monuments might be contextualized rather than removed. Voting access might be expanded in some areas while restricted in others, and Georgia would continue its pattern of progressive rhetoric with mixed implementation. The nuclear project at Plant Vauxhall serves as a metaphor for Georgia's broader situation, a massive, expensive bet on the future that could either demonstrate Georgia's capacity for innovation or become a cautionary tale about the costs of refusing to adapt to changing circumstances. Georgia's insane facts aren't just historical curiosities, they're active forces shaping American politics and culture today. From its founding as a debtor colony to its current role as a nuclear energy pioneer, Georgia has consistently been the place where American contradictions become most visible. The state that gave us both the Ku Klux Klan and Martin Luther King Jr., that maintains Confederate monuments while electing progressive politicians, that builds nuclear reactors while struggling with basic infrastructure. This is Georgia's true insanity. It's not the individual facts that are crazy. It's the pattern they reveal about America's ongoing struggle to reconcile its ideals with its history. As Georgia's demographics continue to shift and its political influence grows, these contradictions will only become more consequential. The decisions made in Georgia over the next decade about monuments, about voting rights, about energy policy will reverberate far beyond the state's borders. Georgia isn't just revealing its own secrets, it's revealing America's. The question isn't whether Georgia will change, it's whether that change will resolve its contradictions or simply create new ones. Based on the state's history, the smart money is on new contradictions. After all, in Georgia, the only constant is the insanity,